Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Thursday, the 23rd day of February in the year 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:06 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano will be absent for the entirety of the meeting. Councilperson Solomon. Valet is on his way. Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera. And Council President Waterman.
Here.
We have 7 members in attendance at 6:06 p.m. Can we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please?
As folks know him, the GOAT.
Dominique Porter.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall. The annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, December 15th, 2022. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, February 17th, 2023 at 2:25 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Okay, and I see that Councilperson Soleil has arrived at, I'll give him 6:07 p.m. So we now have 8 council members present at 6:07. Okay. If we can just start with the first reading ordinances. Council members, if you allow me to read them into the record. Item 3.1, City Ordinance 23-015. Before I read that into the record, I just wanted to ask the Assistant Business Administrator, we did get an email and all in the council, we talked about this also at the caucus. We are going to want to withdraw this, so then we'll bring it back after the redevelopment plan is adopted. Is that correct?
That's correct, Clerk Gallagher. We're going to withdraw this and bring it back at another date.
Thank you. All right. With that being said, I'm going to skip right to 3.2. City Ordinance 23-016 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-9, Stop Intersections, to designate various unsignalized intersections as multi-way stop control intersections. And then next, 3.3, City Ordinance 23-017 is an ordinance amending Chapter 3 of the Jersey City Code, Administration of Government, Article 10, Department of Housing, Economic Development and Commerce, assigning Enforcement Lead Hazard Control Assistance Act to the Division of Housing Preservation. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 23-018 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 160, Fees and Charges, Section 1, Fee Schedule Established, Subsection 10, Chapter 254, Property Maintenance, establishing a fee schedule for lead-based hazard inspection of rental units pursuant to Pamphlet Law 2021 C.182 and amending Chapter 254 Property Maintenance to include the registration of properties for compliance under the Lead Hazard Control Assistance Act. Council members, I'm going to be taking a vote on items 3.2 through 3.4 for introduction. Councilperson Ridley.
I know there was conversation on the lead ordinances, but I believe that we're looking to resolve any misunderstandings or issues before the second read. So with that, I vote aye on all. Aye for introduction.
Thank you, Councilperson Prinzary.
So for 3.3, I reviewed the caucus meeting recording, and I've created a list of questions, knowing that we'll be having further discussion between first and second read. So having said that, I will say aye for introduction for all.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Vote aye for introduction, contingent upon more dialogue, for 3.3.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye for introduction.
Items 3.2 through 3.4 are introduced 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent. Okay, council members, before we move on to our second reading ordinances, we do have a special guest with us today. His presence was asked by the municipal council at the caucus meeting, and I'm talking about the legendary Joseph Michael Mackey. We are going. I would like a motion to defer to item 10.25, Resolution 23-138, a resolution commemorating Joseph Michael Mackey on the occasion of his retirement.
Second.
Motion was made by,
Jeez.
thank you, Councilperson DeGise, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Awesome. On the motion to defer to item 10.25, Resolution 23-138, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 to defer to Resolution 23-138. Councilperson Saleh, would you like to read the resolution into the record?
Yes. This is commemorating Joseph Michael Mackey. The council as a whole moved adoption of the following resolution. Whereas Joseph Michael Mackey spent the majority of his professional life serving the people of Jersey City. Whereas Joseph Michael Mackey was born in January of 1966 and is the youngest of three sons of William Angelo Mackey and Catherine Cummings Mackey. And whereas the Mackey family was raised in the Greenville section of Jersey City and were members of Our Lady of Mercy Parish, where Joseph Michael Mackey attended elementary school. Whereas Joseph Michael Mackey fondly recalls the times he played ball in several of Jersey City's public parks, specifically Audubon Park, McGovern Park, and Metro Field, and counts them among his most cherished memories. And whereas Joseph Michael Mackey's passion for sports began at a young age, he participated in the sports leagues offered at Our Lady of Mercy Parish, Babe Ruth Little League Baseball, Jersey City recreational leagues, as well as informal games played on the streets of Jersey City. And whereas Joseph Michael Mackey graduated Marist High School and earned a Bachelor's of Arts from Jersey City State College, now known as New Jersey City University, NJCU. And whereas in 1996, Joseph Michael Mackey found a professional outlet for his love of sports and joined the city as an employee of the Department of Recreation, where he subsequently obtained his certification as New Jersey Recreational Administrator. And whereas during his time with the Department of Recreation, Joseph Michael Mackey also had the privilege to serve numerous community organizations and institutions such as Our Lady of Mercy Sports Committee, the Marist High School Board of Trustees, JCSC/NJCU Green and Gold Club, Hudson County Special Olympics, and the Boys and Girls Club of Jersey City. And whereas Joseph Michael Mackey also coached boys basketball at Marist High School, Dickinson High School, and St. Peter's Prep. And whereas Joseph Michael Mackey credits the opportunity to work with and learn from various coaches, league presidents, and athletic directors as having provided him with the tools necessary to become a successful recreational administrator. Though he credits his parents, Bill and Kathy Mackey, as well as his older brothers, Billy and Ed, as making him the man he is today. And whereas Joseph Michael Mackey is widely known throughout Jersey City as a dedicated public servant, and he believes that there is no better place to live and raise a family than Jersey City. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Jersey City Municipal Council hereby recognize Joseph Michael Mackey for his 27 years of dedicated service to Jersey City and congratulate him on his retirement. What an incredible man.
Joe. Before you say anything, Joe, do you want the council to vote first? Because they have to approve it before.
Well, I just made a dash up here and I had the privilege to say hello to Miss Laverne Webb Washington. And I don't think if it is not approved, maybe someone standing behind me. would say it for 2 cents.
Sean,
I say that
let's
with
approve,
respect.
Joe. Let us vote first and then you can get up and say, and Laverne can stand by your side and y'all can shake hands, hug, embrace, whatever. Let's
Okay.
vote first.
All right. And on resolution 23-138, Councilperson Ridley.
Joe, thank you so much for all your years of service here in Jersey City. We appreciate you and you will certainly be missed. With that, I vote aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Joe, thank you for your dedication to the city and in particular to the young people of the city because they are our biggest treasure. That proudly vote aye and wish you all the best in your next chapter.
Councilperson Saleh.
Want to thank you so much, Joe Mackey. You are a legend. The lives you've touched, we can't even begin to comprehend how many kids you've put on the right path and how you've positively impact Jersey City. This is a huge L for Jersey City, but I hope that you've, trained everyone else in the recreation department to fill your big shoes. With that, I vote aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Joe, on a personal level, I'm going to miss your emails because you conveyed such information in such few words, and it was amazing. But echoing what my colleague said, you've done incredible work for the children, the youth of our city, and we are forever indebted to you for that work. So I proudly vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Joe Mack. Joe, man, just a huge thank you for all of your class act. I remember being in recreation. And Joe was one of those guys, he was the assistant director, but you would never be able to tell because he's never walked around like he was higher than anyone. He's always treated everyone with the same level of respect. He was always fair. He had a couch in his office that I frequented often when I was down there. Joe just a class act, a breath of fresh air, so much knowledge, and he really, really cares for the kids in Jersey City. So Joe, thank you so much for all your commitment. I know you're gonna find it in your heart to come and do something related to helping the kids. I look forward to that. I probably vote aye, and thank you for everything, young fella.
Councilperson DeGise.
Mother's son, right? Thank you for taking that Mackey energy that you had coaching St. Peter's Prep, the first championship, and think it was 25, 30 years. I remember that game. and bringing that energy to the Department of Recreation, and for all of the initiatives to expand youth services and recreation and make it equitable throughout the city, and never changing that and never looking for a big pat on your back. You just want to get the job done and see other people do their jobs. Thank you for setting that example. You're going to be missed, but I know you're still young enough to do more. So keep us in the loop. I vote aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Gonna be the longest one, Joe. Okay, here we go. So, Joe and I go back to 1996. I just want everybody here to know, Joe, when he was the director, was when I was involved in youth baseball. And, I just want you to understand that Joe was part of the 21,000 plus kids that came to the Roberto Clemente Little League and helping us, making sure that there was funds available for this league, that these kids did not want for anything. This man right here standing in front of you had a lot to do with that. The city of Jersey City is going to be losing a big part in the Department of Recreation, but I'm sure, like my council colleague said, that, what you did throughout, the Department of Recreation is definitely contagious with your work colleagues, and they're not going to be in the dark because they have a great blueprint that you're going to leave behind. So, your parents were amazing. I got to know both of them, and you're a great product of them. I sit here it's tough, man. I'm losing a friend that was a big part of recreation. I'm not losing you forever. We'll always be in contact, but you was a true friend, Joe, and I'm gonna miss you personally. I'm gonna miss your quick texts, be in touch, and but listen, you deserve this. So sorry to talk so much, but we have a connection and we shared a lot together. Thank you for the great memories, Joe. I'm gonna miss that. Love you with all my heart. I vote aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Well, Joe, first of all, I want to say thank you for your service. I'm quite sure because of your longevity in this city, you have seen the administration change time and time after again. But because of your commitment to children, you always adjust and make sure your priority was them. And I seen that when I came in 2013, how your concern was just making sure that we got it right and that the kids would always receive the service that they deserve. That says a lot about your character. And your character is second to none. And I just know that the kids that you service, because they were in your present, is going to grow up to be a productive human being in society. And you have something to do with that. And so I'm just so sorry that you're going, but I understand that you're still young and there's still things that you desire to do. And I hope that you fulfill your desires and your dreams that you have for your own life. With that, I vote aye. And it's not farewell. It's just keep doing what you're supposed to do. And that's keep blessing the hearts of children everywhere. God bless you.
City Resolution 23-138 is approved unanimously, 8-0, with Councilperson Baggiano absent. And Joe, before you speak, I just want to personally say, everything that the council said, I agree with, but, our families go back a long way, and it's never goodbye, it's see you later, right? See you later. And Jersey City is going to have a big loss, but I know you'll still be around and you're just a phone call away. So that's the kind of character you are, and that's the kind of friend you are too. So look at everybody who stood up for you. Just see who you touched and who you impacted over the years of service that you had with the city. And I want to personally thank you for all your dedicated 27 years with the city. Thanks so much, Joe.
Um, I would be remiss to begin with Mayor Fulop and his administration and all the previous mayors and their administration that I had the privilege to work for, including all the directors, including my current director, Miss Lucinda McLaughlin, Division Director Keith Donat, and Supervisor of Persian Field, Miss Rose Nunez, who are in attendance. I appreciate all those kind words you did have to say. I like to think I'm a product of the system and the product of the streets, and we continue to listen and learn. The constituents out the door are who we answer to. If there's one thing probably my superiors and my boss will say is, I wear my name tag every day, okay? Whether or not I go to my favorite deli or wherever I might go, because you cross paths with people who have questions and concerns, and you might not have all the answers. That's reality, okay? That's true. And it's a challenging city, but I think the direction of the department is in good hands. There's numerous programs and activities for the children of the community, and with your support, with obviously budget issues, it continues. The kind words, again, repeating myself, I know that one or two councilmen alluded to it. I tried to end every email with "be in touch, thanks." And that's the only thing I can honestly just conclude by. I know I seen Miss Laverne Webb. I had the pleasure of meeting her many years ago. And if she didn't get the answer you wanted, it's something of a knock, a call, a text, but her heart is in the community as is yours. And I just say thank you and God bless you and your families. Thank you. Oh, gotta change.
That's what I told him when he
And a
first
little less
started, he had
weight.
black hair.
Okay. Congratulations. Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
You was already late. You still taking pictures.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on to our regular scheduling programming. We're going to start with our second reading ordinances. First, second reading ordinance is item 4.1, City Ordinance 23-009 is an ordinance authorizing the exception of the deed from Parks at VL South LLC affecting Block 6005, Lot 2, also known as Gateway Plaza Park, and Block 6902, Lot 16, also known as Van Leer South Park. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard?
Motion.
Wait.
Oh, no, somebody.
Nelson Rivera here.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first name.
Nelson Rivera.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, regarding this property, which is part of a developer and investor. And why are the city taking this piece of land for the city to spend money on this park? When the developer had it, they develop it. Actually, they're getting paid, they pay very little tax on it. The population of the kids have increased in Jersey City, creating more expenses. And now we're taking this piece of land for the city to develop and to pay for all the expenses to develop this park for the rich. So I want to know why the developer is not paying for this and what the city is taking from this developer. We are a corporation, Jersey City is a corporation, and you are guiding the corporation. So we need to know why we're spending money on private property. Thank you.
Anybody want to explain that? Okay.
That was a part of a developer agreement, and the permission was given at the planning board, and it was a requirement for their project. And they're giving the land back to the city. They created a benefit for the new residents in that area, and the city will maintain it. We're not paying them for anything. We'll just be paying for the maintenance of the new park. And it's an area that had zero facilities in it. It was a former industrial area, so this is a positive thing for the community.
Point of information, I believe that the developer is supposed to maintain it, but they're deeding the land over to the city. Is that?
Yeah, we'll do both, but it is a park that we'll be looking at and working with them to maintain.
Thank you.
Sorry, just,
Okay.
yeah, I just want to be clear. That was a fair question, but just when I think when John McKinney presented this at the, not caucus last time, but you go, he was very clear that the city's not spending any more. The developer is still responsible per the terms of the prior agreement to fully maintain the park. It was
Correct.
of a land transfer related to, I correct me if I'm wrong, insurance issues, but the city wasn't taking on any additional obligations here.
Correct, yeah. That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-009. Any member of the public still wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-009 made by Councilperson Rivera, and I have a seconded by Council President Waterman. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-009, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Bajiano absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-009. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-009, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-009 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson Bajiano absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.2, City Ordinance 23-010 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of an easement to Fair Kings Partners LLC affecting real property owned by the City of Jersey City, known as Lot 1, Block 7001, as shown on the official tax maps of the Township of Fairfield. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Nelson Rivera. Regarding ordinance 23-010, this piece of land, we don't see a copy of the survey of this property, and the city is only getting $10,000. And we get more from this person, the company Fair Think Partners. I think the city is getting not enough money for the easement. Thank you.
Okay,
Jean, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Jean Daly. Yeah, I think this whole idea of selling these easements is the wrong idea. I think we should rent them. And so this is for a private development and private access for a private development. So if we're giving up our land or they can have access over it for a private development, we should be charging them rent. We can get a lot more money from rent than we can get from these wholesale sales. So I think we have to change our policy. These spaces need to be rented, not given outright, easements, or the easement fee in return is going to be a rental fee. So at least you start with, it's going to cost you $1,000 a month. I'm sorry. You want to put your buildings, it's a huge construction site. I think tons of buildings, residences. I think some big shopping spots are going to be in there. We need to make money off of our land. That's our job. We need to charge rent. And that's the way I think in the future we really need to go with these easements, because we're giving this town away. Well, we've already gave this town away, but let's stop it.
This is still a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record. Give me 1 second. Go. All right. So I have a motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-010 made by Councilperson Rivera. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-010, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-010. For final consideration of City Ordinance 23-010, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
No.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-010 is adopted 7-1 with Councilperson Gilmore voting no and Councilperson Baggiano absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.3, City Ordinance 23-011. It's an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating a reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Jean Daly. My concern actually is the disability parking for City Hall. Someone has got it's always used by some employee who's taking that disabled parking spot. So if anybody who wants to come, say, to City Hall to do something, or has to go to some of these council meetings, that spot is typically blocked. So I ask you guys to create more disabled parking for the people who need to come here, and especially those who need to come to these meetings, because they're out of luck. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane.
This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-011. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Nelson Rivera again. Yes, could you please put a number on this ordinance and how much it's going to cost the city? Because we have to talk about numbers here. We keep creating debt and more debt, and who has to pay is
This is for disabled persons, sir. This is for disabled people.
it's for disabled people, yeah. How much is the city paying for it? We need to know. I think in every ordinance, you should put a number. How much are we spending? We come here to talk about numbers. So if it's coming from people paying taxes, you have to let us know how much you're spending. If the people who are taking these signs, I mean, if they're paying for it, that's fine. But if we have to, people that paying the taxes are paying for this, we need to know. So I would really appreciate if they can put numbers on this ordinance. Thank you.
This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-011. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing was made by Councilperson Rivera
Second.
and seconded by Councilperson Saleh to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-011. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-011. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-011, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-011 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent. Okay, on to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 23-012 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, amending Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for street cleaning purposes on Morgan Street between Green Street and Marin Boulevard. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing was made by Councilperson Rivera on City Ordinance 23-012. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Saleh. To close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-012, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-012. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-012, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-012 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.5, City Ordinance 23-013 is an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement with Rialto Capital Urban Renewal Company, LLC, for the use of space at the Leasers, building located at 4 Beacon Way, Jersey City. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, and I see Jean Daly.
Yes. If it was my understanding that this is the ordinance that's being, or second reading ordinance that was going to be for the use of the radio tower. Is that correct? The reason I asked that, it is? Okay. The reason I asked that because I think there was also some kind of space that was used aside from the tower space that we're renting. Is there any in-house space, or is it just the mechanicals on the roof?
That's not correct. There is no space. It's just the 911 antennas that service the city, that at the time, that was the highest location in the city. So we put all our stuff up there. We pay $1 a year and then we reimburse them for the electricity to the antennas.
I get it.
So there's no space that we
Yeah.
use other than the roof.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Okay. This is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-013. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Rivera to close a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-013. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-013, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-013. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-013, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Yeah, I just have I was a little confused. I thought at one point there were some space inside that we were renting.
I'm not aware of a space inside the building, but it is for the electricity that goes up to the antennas.
There's something about 460 square feet of space inside the building and a portion of the roof space.
The roof is where the antennas are. The only thing that we know that is like a mechanical room where some of the equipment is stored, but we don't use any space up there.
Oh, aye.
Okay. Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-013 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent. Okay, on to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.6, City Ordinance 23-014 is an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement from Hardwood Corporation for the use of 36 parking spaces located at 808 Pavonia Avenue. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record. Okay, Jean.
Oh, yes, it's Jean Daly. Just quickly, are we making any plans to own and buy property to develop and to just keep it as a parking lot for the city instead of renting these places? I don't know the exact configuration of this, but if it's owned by somebody else and if it is an open parking lot, what happens when they sell it? What are we going to do? You know, this has happened time and time again. We've had the one by the municipal courthouse. That's gone. We have a real problem here in Jersey City. We're just giving land away to developers. We're not doing anything to take care of our own people. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean.
This is still,
Again, I'm sorry, Nelson Rivera. Yeah, this ordinance 23-014, 36 parking space. Who use this parking spaces and why are we paying $73,440 per year? Why these people, whoever is using it, doesn't pay from their own pocket? It's $170 for each person per month. I mean, for each space. This is another debt to the taxpayer. Thank you.
Y'all want to answer that? Thank you.
These are parking spots that the police officers are using for the public safety building. Once they relocate to the new building, we won't be using these spots anymore.
Thank you.
this is still a public hearing on City Ordinance 23-014. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Rivera to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-014. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-014, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera. And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-014. for final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-014. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Just have a quick question about this, because the lease is from 2021. Is the funding amount is 73,000? But that's not the amount that we're paying for everything, right? That's just the amount that's in the account.
Is it?
We pay the bill monthly, but then after we leave out, we will no longer be obligated to pay for the parking
Once we
spots.
move.
So it's not, we're not paying 73,000, right?
No, it won't be the
Okay.
entire
All
amount.
right, I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Yeah, so just to be clear, this contract is slated to end in May of this year, correct? Not,
It's a 2-year contract, but once we move to the new public safety building on at the hub, we'll give them notification that we'll be canceling the lease.
but if the new building is slated to open soon,
Correct. But there's some bills that, they've been billing us monthly, so we'll go until that period of time when everyone's completely out of One Journal Square and over at the hub, we'll cancel the lease.
do we know when is the anticipated date that we will no longer need any of those parking spaces?
We're anticipating late spring. Yeah.
I vote aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 23-014 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson Bajano absent. Okay, council members, we're going to hold a public hearing on the 2023 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. Again, this is a public hearing on the 2023 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Laverne, Washington. I'm here about my church, Heavenly Temple. We have property. We got a letter from the city about this property. It's church property and they taxing us. So that's why I'm here. It was sent to the church about 14 MLK across the street from the church. Property belongs to the church.
Laverne, I know we're in conversation and Michelle is right here. We're speaking to your bishop and the church is never taxed. So I just think, I don't know what you have, but I know we've been in conversation with
Okay, thank you.
your
They had
bishop.
sent a bill.
Okay, but we in conversation with your bishop and like I
Okay,
said,
thank you very much.
Michelle is quite aware. She knows the avenue well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, this is still a public hearing on the 2023 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District and Assessment Roll and Budget. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, and I see the director.
Mhm.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
And it's late, but Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Michelle.
I just wanted to say that Jackson Hill is really doing some wonderful things. And with the help, and I want to acknowledge particularly Director Moody,
Mhm.
who's been wonderful with deploying police and meeting with us to figure out where to place them. And just on the corner of where my office happens to be,
Mhm.
it is 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
It really is. And it was a nightmare before, despite the complaints given. And she's been great. And her and Sergeant Goodman and Deputy Director Flora, they've been fantastic. Because if she can't reach me, one of them will, or
Mhm.
come by the office to check and see what's going on. The cops come in, I let them use a
Yeah.
restroom and get water. And I just tell them when they need a break to come on in, because I'm glad they're there. And a lot of residents are glad that they're there. So in addition, Jackson Hill has partnered with the city of Jersey City, and we got what's known as a neighborhood preservation grant. Come this spring, you're going to see security cameras and lighting put on residential homes, even though that's not what we do, but the grant calls for us to address the residential streets between Claremont and Bayview and Ocean and Bergen. So a lot of things are going to be happening this coming spring when the weather gets a little bit warmer. And then next year we'll be working on facades.
Okay.
And we're anticipating some money from Urban Enterprise Zone, which we're very excited about. And I know the focus is going to be on storefront improvements, which the district sorely needs. You can't improve a district unless you make it safer and better looking. So that is part of the work. And then having to work with the side streets as well is becoming more holistic than it was before. And we're also working very strongly with Gessler of Rutgers University and Jersey City JC Sustainable JC. And they've done a great presentation. And at some point, you all will probably get an invitation to attend a meeting or two so they can do this presentation, because it's all about building economic equity, health equity, sustainable equity and social equity. And we're trying to figure out ways where we can get small projects done. And because nothing happens overnight, so we got to do what we can at first and then work out as the years go by. And unfortunately, things take years and no one's dropping hundreds of millions of dollars in our lap to get it done. So, we're there.
You're doing a good job, Michelle.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
Okay.
Michelle, just before, I just want to just let you know, don't sell yourself short. The fact that you're at the helm of this thing, you do an amazing job. Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
Jean Daly. I was very interested in what Michelle was saying about the security cameras on the side streets, the neighborhood streets. And the reason I state that is because who's going to have access to these videos? I'm looking at the homeowner and, it's an invasion of privacy for the homeowner if it's directed to their property. And I would hate to think that, someone's private business it could be misinterpreted the wrong way. You have people coming in and out because you have a big family. They're going to say, oh, God, great. There's like drug dealing going on. That concerns me, this invasion of privacy. So I'm hoping that these security cameras are directed towards the street. And then also, who's going to mount these security cameras? What if a piece of a facade of a house is busted, or then the roof leaks or something? My concern is about the privacy and who will have access to these videos and where they will be pointed. Thank you.
Is still a public hearing on the 2023 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District and Assessment Roll. And I see Philip Carrington.
Council President, a lot of members of the City Council, and to the moderator, Gallagher. So my name is Phil Carrington. I have a different take on this, and I'm glad to hear the director get up and speak, because I really was on the level of asking to have this organization disband. I don't see the need for the organization. And if you read the article that brought this into existence, Ordinance 11-152, and if you read the A, B, and C, I didn't see, or I don't see this organization functioning according to these parts of the article. What disturbs me more as the businessman and the property owner who's paying the taxes, though, for everybody's salary in that organization. And of course, they rent. And you cannot ask a simple question to get an answer from the other, chase them all over town. It was an insult. For example, I was trying to get the same article from director for the longest time. I couldn't get an answer. I had to run to Councilwoman Wadman begging her to give me an answer. Where can I get this information from? And then she walked me to the council, and council said, no, I shouldn't get it from him. I should get it from Gallagher, and which I did. My point is that there is no need for an organization that can't give you a simple answer to a question as a business purpose, as a business person. This organization does nothing whatsoever to uplift Black-owned businesses. It is a strain, it's really more of an albatross to business people and property owners. Yes, she said that we're going to get some facade and all those things. That'll be good down the road. I don't see what is being done or what has been done with this budget for last year. And there is again, this is just another blood-sucking operation that is causing Black property owners to lose their property. I don't see the need for this organization. And I'm really, really stressed because not only the taxes on the regular taxes went up, my property tax went to $4,000 every quarter. That's over $1,000 a month. And now, in addition to that, you're paying $300 and $400 more for some organization. For whatever they're doing, you can get it from somewhere else. There is no need for this. I'm opposing this budget last year and the coming one, because that is a projection what was just said. But what has been done in the past is not pleasing to me, and I'm against having my tax dollars go to this organization. And if I don't get a better answer, someone will have to address my issues.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
This is still a public hearing on the 2023 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on the Jackson Hill Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget was made by Councilperson Rivera and seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on the Jackson Hill Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent to close the public hearing on the Jackson Hill Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. Okay, council members, we have one more public hearing to go through. This is on the McGovern Park improvements. This is part of a grant application. So this is a requirement from the state that we hold this public hearing on the McGovern Park improvements. I had to notify members of the public by putting an ad in the paper on February 8th, 2023 of this public hearing, and also on the city website on the same day. So this is a public hearing on the McGovern Park improvements. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Lois Jean Daly. My question is, do we have a plan for how we're going to improve this yet? Or we just have to wait for the money and then get the plan? Because I would really like to have some things go out to local developers and local, say, designers and such. I'm just tired of the same old insiders getting these jobs without going into the local community first. This is what we must be doing. We must support each other and support our local communities and the local business people. And it's disgusting that we're handing these contracts over to people who don't live here and people don't care so much as long as they get the job and pocket the money. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is still a public hearing on the McGovern Park improvements. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing on the McGovern Park improvements made by Councilperson Rivera. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Council President Waterman. On the motion to close the public hearing on the McGovern Park improvements, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece, Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 to close the public hearing on McGovern Park improvements with Councilperson Baggiano absent. Okay, council members, before we go to our public hearing, the regular public hearing, I'm going to be a little selfish and ask
Motion to
if you
defer to
be
10:16.
kind enough to defer to item 10.16, Resolution 23-129, which is a resolution reappointing yours truly, Sean J. Gallagher, as city clerk and local registrar. And the reason why I'm asking for it, because my family is here and I want them to go celebrate, hopefully, if they can, and have a drink. So instead of them me holding them up, misery loves company, but I don't want to do that to them. So I believe I had a motion made by Councilperson Rivera. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to defer to item 10.16, which happens to be my mother's birthday. Resolution 23-129, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeJeece. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 to defer to resolution 23-129. So council members, I'm just going to go ahead and take a vote on resolution 23-129. My faith is in your hands, no pressure. Councilperson Ridley.
This is a difficult one. Sean, first, I just want to say thank you. It is not easy leading these meetings. It is not easy making sure that we're all prepared and, just the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, not just for the council meetings, but the role of the clerk in general is a lot more than just these meetings. A lot of record keeping and just a whole lot to do in this city of this size. So I think you're doing a tremendous job. I thank you for your dedication, and I thank you for always being willing to help when I reach out. And so with that, I vote aye.
Thank you so much. Councilperson Prince Airy.
So this will be an easy vote, not a hard vote. Sean, I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done with the city, for your long career with the city, but also when you stepped into the clerk position, COVID hit, and you had to transition us from in-person to virtual meetings and then back again. So, if anybody is deserving and if anybody has shown the quality of the work, it is you. With that, I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
Well. Well, Sean, you are a man of integrity and a man of honor, and Jersey City is grateful for your work and really thankful that you can continue your service. I believe you've already had 30 years under your belt, and I'm here's hoping for 30 more. I vote aye.
I can't promise that. Councilperson Solomon.
Yeah, proudly will vote yes. Sean does his job extremely effectively and has earned the trust of all of us that we know when we come to him with issues and questions, he will respond promptly but fairly and give us sort of the honest truth with whatever issue that we need. And, I wish you were a Steelers fan, Sean, but other than that, you've been doing an incredible job and I vote aye.
It's funny that you say that, right? Like before we're getting to Councilperson Rivera, but I can just say that when the Giants are not playing the Steelers, I cheer for the Steelers. Councilperson Gilmore.
In light of all of the technical difficulties we've been having for the last couple meetings, Sean, I truly thank you. I remember picking up my petitions and you literally gave me a crash course. I didn't even ask for it. You just gave me a crash course. And every time I have a question, sometimes I don't want you to walk me through everything, but you always make sure that I understand the answers, I understand the process of what you do in a clerk's office and everything. So I thank you for that. I respect you for that. I know it's a challenging job, it's a hard job, but you're up for the task. So I probably vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson DeGise.
This is another tough one. Yeah. You make the Jersey City Gallagher family very proud. That whole name, make Jersey City very proud with your service. We're very lucky to have you. Your famous line is teamwork makes the dream work. And in many ways, you make us that team. We're all on the same page. We're all kept abreast of everything, even more, as Councilman Gilmore just said. But that just shows the pride that you have in your job, but in your department. You highlight every employee that it works around you, everyone that works in your office. You tell us their names, what they're doing, what they've done, and how they move everything forward despite the difficulties and barriers sometimes. And they must be very proud to work with you. And we're very proud to work with you too. So I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
Are we tabling this or? No, listen, Sean, you're amazing. We've been attached together to the hip. Actually, Councilman Rich Brogiano, Council President, and myself, you kind of walked us through when, we came on board in 2013 and, Robert was there, but you kind of like, grabbed us by the hand and told us this is what, this is the way to go. And then you showed me your little cubicle with all the giant stuff was. I was like, wait, we can't do that. But no, listen, I want everybody here to know that, the man that directs these meetings here is an honorable man and he loves this city with all his heart. And we are very, very glad to have him, leading this dais up here. Without a doubt, 100%, I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you. And Council President Waterman.
Well, Sean, you mean the world to me. I know coming in this office here was not easy because Robert left, and that is like tough shoes to fill when you understand all that Robert, contribute to the city. But when you took the position, you made the position your own. You were not trying to be like Robert, all you wanted to be was Sean. And Sean is a caring person. He really is. Sean cares about his staff more than I don't even know if they know. He's always trying to advocate for more funds for them. For real, he is. And when we had to do the birth certificates again, which meant his department had more work, Sean was advocating for them to make sure that they get fair treatment, and he still is. Because I have to say that because sometimes people, they come to our council meetings and sometimes they don't really understand all that we do behind the scenes. But it's a team that really makes this flow, and you need a good leader. And for that division, Sean is one of the best. He's kind, he's caring, and he takes time out for every one of us. Like he's not too busy. And that's what's good about him. He's not too busy. Some people get in position and they too busy. They don't want to be, involved with you. Like you just a little person and they don't want to be involved with you. But Sean is not like that. So when it was time for Sean to get this position, I didn't hesitate at all. He deserves it. Anytime this council calls on him, he picks up the phone. And I can call him 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I don't mean in the morning, but at night, he picks up his phone. So there's no one deserving in this position here than Sean Gallagher. So Sean, I really glad that I'm here to vote you in this position. And I know you're just going to take it to another level. And I want your staff to know that he is definitely advocating for more for you because he know that you guys deserve it. With that, I proudly vote aye.
Thank you very much. Resolution 23-129 is approved unanimously, 8-0 with Councilperson Bongiano absent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I promise I'll be brief. I know we have a long speakers list. But I do appreciate the moment and the time, the spotlight, and obviously all of the council's beautiful words, kind words that they have for me. First and foremost, I got to thank my family, my wife Laura and my son Sean, who are here tonight. Means the world to me. And it's so funny, you know, the number, it gets numbered, the resolutions get numbered, and 10/16, like I said, it happens to be my mother's birthday, who's no longer with us. And it's just, I felt like it was an omen that this was going to be a positive night for me. And I'm also celebrating my 30-year anniversary this year. So thank you. Thank you. This is going to sound crazy, but I would do it all over again if I had to. But I want to thank one of my best friends from growing up on Linden Avenue in the Greenville section of Jersey City, where Councilperson Ridley is a member and leads. My friend David and his wife Jennifer, who just renewed their vows and have been married 30 years. So thank you so much for showing up and supporting me on this. It means the world to me. There's so many other people to thank. I do have to thank Robert Byrne. Robert Byrne, he's my mentor. I was his deputy for 18 years and I learned so much from him. And I'm just hoping that I can do the same thing for my deputy, John Hallinan, who I love to thank as well, has been by my side since I've taken over. And also Marlene, who's Sandcamp, who was here, who came down from the city council, who also has been by my side. And I see Raquel DeSato, our purchasing agent, showing her support, which means the world to me too. And I know Jack Skura was here too, and I appreciate him. But again, thanks to Mayor Fulop and the entire municipal council, the BA, and even the assistant BAs too, because I worked closely with them, Kevin Lyons and Scott and Peter, Corporation Counsel, Peter Baker, Chanel. It's I mean, everybody that's in this room, basically. I actually want to thank Tracy for all of the years of service that she has given the city as well. Without Tracy, our transcripts are not what they are, you know, and we rely on her big time. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Barbara DeAugusta, who is no longer with us, who was Robert's deputy city clerk before I was deputy city clerk. She was one of the main reasons why I came into the clerk's office, transferred, and she pushed me and seen something in me that I certainly didn't see. And I, you know, when I got the city's job, I didn't think this was going to be a career. 30 years later, I'm still here. So with my, as long as my wife and my son will allow me to continue to serve, I'll serve as long as possible. But I don't know if it's going to be 30 years because that would make me very old. And I don't want to tell you how old I am. So, but with that, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you guys and thank past and present staff members, and the council touched on it as well. Every staff member that's down there, past and present, you don't have a good clerk if you don't have a great staff. And I'm going to continue to fight for my staff. And with that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, everybody here, everybody watching at home. If I touched on you in your life, and if you touched on me, I want to thank you. Again, I love Jersey City. I know I live in Bayonne, but that's Jersey City South as far as I'm concerned. So I know the mayor of Bayonne doesn't like that too much, but facts are facts. And Jersey City will always be in my heart. And I love each and every one of you guys, especially the ones behind me. So thank you again. All right, you guys can go, leave, have a drink on me. All right, I'll pay the bill when the council meeting's over. All right, with that being said, we're going to go on to our first speaker. Our first speaker is Laverne Webb, Washington. told you, I was trying to be short, but I wasn't. It's hard. You should have timed me. That's right.
That's all right. I'm gonna let you go tonight. This your night. I thank you for this time. Tonight, I'm here about BITE. BITE is a group in Jersey City that does a lot in our community, feeding people at Lincoln High School. They had the garden on Astor Place, and they got some representatives here tonight. They catching hell right now at Lincoln, trying to make sure that's a permanent spot. I took a video last Saturday. If they don't have 200 or 300 people of all nationalities that they feed, then again on Monday, and it's a shame what's going on. It really is, and they need their help. And behind me, a group from her people are here, and they're gonna speak, and they're gonna tell you more about BITE and what they need. They need permanent residents. They're giving them a hard time at Lincoln High School. This city council runs our public schools, and we need to put some pressure on them. And she had community kids doing work there. They get their time in, and the garden needs to be open because that's architectural. And our kids are not learning nothing in these schools. They can learn to grow tomatoes and whatever. And this lady's been doing this for a minute. So please, we need to support her and support what she's doing in our community, because that line out there was from the parking lot of Lincoln round to the chicken place. That's like a mile. She needs our support in this community. And she needs to make sure that we got a permanent residence for her. So with that, saying that, I really appreciate you. I'm tired. Next speaker.
But I just want on the record, the city don't run the public schools. Oh. Yeah, but I just want, because Laverne, when people see us, they think that we run the schools.
But they got to come through us that we approve stuff for the public schools though. Right? No more?
No. That's what I'm saying.
They did.
It's a separate elected body. They have a separate elected body, just like the city does. Okay, so.
Let's get on them though.
Oh.
Okay. Our next speaker, 5.2, Gene Daly.
It's a shame that we had some two council members peel off, because when we speak to public, we're speaking on things that you're going to be voting upon. So it kind of bugs me that these people have walked off. But couple things. Obviously, I'm surprised I'm the only one dressed for the occasion here. I mean, let's face it. What's going on? What happened? Apparently, everyone went on, well, everyone, not some people, went on a selected meeting with the mayor, apparently paid for by an individual, a private individual, to send you guys on a trip that is supposed to be doing city business. Now, those of you who were there on that trip and who are missing, sorry, I have to ask, if you obviously knew this was done privately. You must have known these plans were happening. What about, you all had to check your passports, see if you had them, if they were current. And so what happens? Gone. Not at the caucus meetings. And it was very curious. And to find out that you've gone to France, France, yes, on purported city business, being paid for by a private individual? Who was this private individual? Are there someone who got, favors because they got cannabis license? You got some pretty rich people who got favors to get their cannabis license. The developer? Who would be so generous to pay for this city council, certain members, sorry, I think 8 people who are employed by the city, for their round trip tickets, hotels, food, travel, cars, whatever, transportation? I think this is an outrage. And the fact that you guys chose to do that, there should have been a line item in the budget. We should have known about this. The budget should have been voted upon. And also, who did the mayor appoint as acting mayor? Normally if I recall, these appointments came through resolution. Pull-up was in Disney World like 10 days before that. So we've been without a mayor for a good solid, what, 2 weeks or so? And we don't have an acting mayor that was appointed? This is a disgrace. And how dare you do something that could be interpreted so poorly? I'm just disgusted, dismayed, and I'm really surprised that no one here is dressed for the occasion, like I said. So, bonsoir.
Next speaker, Tisha Adams, 5.3. Tisha? Adams? No? Okay, next, 5.4, Frank Robertson. Frank Robertson? No? Okay, thank you. 5.5, Tanya Golden.
It's going to be very quick. I'm just going to speak on behalf of people at BCI. BCI is still having issues where their checks are still incorrect. Their holidays are also they're not getting paid for holidays. Some people are now losing comp days. They have issues with that. Just heard a little bit with the radio room. The radio room is just talk. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's talks of privatizing the radio room, which if you do privatize, you're taking away people's jobs. So that's something I want you to look into. And one other thing is for parking enforcement. Parking enforcement now is called traffic. With traffic, we are officers, and if we are assaulted, which we had a gentleman who was hit in the head by someone with a glass air freshener, and it's just treated as a simple assault with citizen against citizens. We were sworn in, and I would like someone to look into maybe changing that rule to charging the person with assault. We have scooters that are getting blocked in when people are angry about getting tickets. No one likes a ticket, but once you block me in and I can't get in, you're not letting me go. You're holding me with, against my will. And nothing's happening with that. All we're being told is if you can get away, get away. But if we call you on the radio and we're telling you we're blocked in by someone, that means we can't get away. So I would like y'all to look into that for parking enforcement. And again, please look into it. People are not getting paid, and again, they need their money. Thank you.
You. Next speaker, 5.6, E10, Stern Weber.
Maton Stern Weber. When you Google Jersey City Council, the top two hits are the city's official webpage, followed by Amy DeGeese. Council members, when people search the offices you hold, you yourselves are being associated with what she's done. And if I were in your seat, I have a great deal of respect for your offices and what you had to do to be currently holding them. And if I were in your seat, I wouldn't want anyone muddying what that means. As residents, we all have to face the fact that when it comes to politics, Hudson County is known for two things: the Statue of Liberty and corruption. The Statue of Liberty, don't have enough time for that, skip that, okay. And as things stand right now, there's no arguing that. It's not like we just got a bad rap like other parts of New Jersey. It's that Hudson County elected officials, including some people in this room, have helped us to maintain and grow that reputation. Now, we all know about living in housing, affordable housing meant for people not making as much money while she's making double six figures. And we know about the hit and run and waiting 6 hours to contact the authorities and ignoring the repeated calls of her constituents to resign. But she's also changing her story of the incident. And every so often, a new defense or excuse comes up to save face. She first said she didn't know she'd hit anyone. Then she changed her story when she had to be under oath in court. So first off, let's be very clear on this. She outright lied to the public. Then she said the sun was in her eyes, so she couldn't see the biker, even though the video clearly shows the intersection was shaded. And even if it wasn't, we're all under the same sun, and it's not like we all go around hitting each other with cars all the time whenever the sun is up. She even went so far as to say that she was the victim because of the ridicule she was getting. Then recently, she did an interview with an ultra-right-wing podcaster, Fernando Uribe, a man so vehemently sexist that he said anyone who criticized her were either, quote, fickle men or overly hysterical women, which is textbook misogynist dog whistle speaking. To clarify, if someone tells me not to get hysterical, that just means relax. But when someone calls a woman hysterical, they're not saying to relax. They're saying women get emotional and hysterical, so don't be an emotional, hysterical woman. So I ask the council members again, is that something that you want to be associated with? And Councilwoman DeGise, please understand that this doesn't have to be the end for you. If you step down, you can start community organizing, maybe for safer streets and protected bike lanes. You can be the champion for safety who learned from her mistakes and decided to help prevent anyone else from making the same ones. You can even run for office again down the line and restart your political career the right way. But if you don't, then please know that we will be there. It's up to you.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.7, Daquan Adams. Not here, okay. Next speaker, 5.8, Colin DeVries.
Good evening, Council. Earlier, I met with Councilwoman DeGise in her office on her invitation. I've spoken to this council before about Amy DeGise. Both of those times, I called on her to step down as my councilwoman person. I shared a personal story about how my life was saved by strangers who came to my aid after a crash that killed my grandmother. So when I saw she would be speaking to the press about the crash, I was intrigued on how she might explain her actions on July 19. On Chatbox with David Cruz, Amy DeGise said that at the time of the day, the sun is kind of glaring into the windshield. And then she said she hit what felt like a bad bump. A few days before that, on Real Time with Fernando Uribe, she didn't mention the glare at all, but said you could see, based on the video, she had no reaction. She said, you can clearly see I had no instinctual reaction to even apply brakes. She said she only felt a, quote, horrible bad bump. So after this, I had to rewatch the video. The most commonly viewed video of the crash is from the passenger side of the car, but I wanted to look closer at the driver's side angle. First, what I noticed in this photo is that the intersection that morning was shaded. There was no sunshine to cause a glare. Next, I wanted to look closely at the moment of impact. Here's Andrew Black in her field of vision. Then she does appear to react. If you look closely between the frames, her mouth appears to open, like her jaw just dropped. Her head even appears to turn slightly as Andrew slides across the hood. Here, finally, she's driving away with a forward-leaning posture and a firm grip on the wheel. The window glass is halfway down, so I can only imagine what terrible sound she may have heard. Her story is full of holes. It is unbelievable how far we have continued to fall. This event has brought shame on this city and set back the hard work we have done to keep each other safe. The only truth in what Amy has said is that she didn't apply the brakes after hitting Andrew Black. Amy DeGise should resign and resign now. The people of Jersey City deserve better. We deserve integrity. We deserve honesty. We deserve someone who truly cares about doing the right thing for people other than themselves.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.9, Roseanne Manto.
Good evening, council. My name is Roseanne Manzo. Most of you don't know, I've been in emergency communications for 28 years. 24 of them have been with Jersey City. Recently, there have been some stories about our performance, and I can only imagine what you've been told. But now I ask that you seek the truth, not just from management, but from the people who work there. Hear the situations we deal with as dispatchers and operators, then listen what it's like to be a city employee. When you compare our pay to other 911 centers in the state, trust me, it was not flattering. But nowadays, a correct paycheck would be a helpful start. Let's discuss our performance. As most of you in the general public are not aware, in 1995, when Enhanced 911 was available in New Jersey was one of the first states to have total redundancy. This goes from equipment to answering of the call. Every center in New Jersey has a primary and secondary backup center. After so many rings, which is set by the state, the call will go to our primary backup. The problem is most people hang up and call back, which in turn causes even more delays in getting to their call. We need public education. With today's cellular technology, when a major incident happens, we receive multiple calls about it. Last year, we received approximately 425,000 calls. That's just shy of one call a minute. Many times in the last few years, we've worked understaffed, not because someone took off or people called out sick. It was just because we didn't have enough employees to work. In the last 7 years, we've lost almost as many people as we hired. And it isn't because we're not trying, trust me. Some of those who passed the test and background don't feel the pay is adequate for the position. In January of 2022, the governor changed our title designation from 911 operators or dispatchers to 911 first responder dispatchers. But working here, you would not know it. The city's minimum wage is $20 an hour. After almost a year of training, if someone becomes certified both as a call taker and dispatcher, our total salary goes up to $22.87 an hour. So for the difference of $2.87, we give up nights, weekends, holidays, time with our family, when for a few cents less, I could become a clerk or even better, work at Walmart. At least then, we would not have to hear the screams of a mother whose baby's not breathing or someone taking their last breath before they end their life in horrible situations day in and day out. Now privatization is being brought up yet again, as if it is the penicillin to all the problems in the communication center. The staffing crisis of communication center is across the country. As you consider our performance and our final outcome, remember there are 3 sides to every story, and you're currently only listening to one side. Please listen to our side as well and make informed decisions. We are just asking for some of your time. You know where we are located. If any one of you would like to speak to my coworkers or I.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Arranged.
Next speaker, 5.10, Osbert Ordunda.
Good evening, Madam Council President and members of the City Council. I'm here tonight regarding ordinance 21-053, which you as the governing body approved. This municipal ordinance is very clear and was very well written and incorporated comments from the city agencies during its creation, including from the City Planning Department. At no time during the crafting of this ordinance was the pulling of permits ever requested by the Planning Department, nor was the pulling of permits included as a step in the ordinance as a part of the cannabis dispensary licensing process. The will and intent of the City Council was clear in ordinance 21-053. Yet I come before you tonight as a certified minority and service disabled veteran business owner who has been irreparably harmed due to a moving of the goalpost by the planning board and the planning department, who are not following ordinance 21053, and instead, after a closed-door private meeting between 4 individuals, decided to arbitrarily and capriciously add the pulling of permits as the final step in the municipal recognition process for cannabis dispensaries. How do I know about this secret closed-door pulling of permits meeting? Because the senior planner mentioned it in an on-the-record March 22nd, 2022 Planning Board meeting. During cannabis prohibition, Black and brown communities were held to one standard while others were held to a different standard. Do not let ordinance 21053 be perverted to have one standard for the haves and one for the rest of us. I personally spoke to 10 Jersey City cannabis applicants, and not one was informed by the planning department of the pulling of permits step, nor is this pulling of permits step in your cannabis FAQs or anywhere on any city website. I urge you to not allow the planning board to make up an ordinance step that does not exist. You and you alone are the regulatory body of this city, and you should demand that the municipal ordinance of Jersey City are followed by everyone, including your departments and their employees. At the February 21st Planning Board meeting, words like phantom and other innuendos were used to describe applicants not having capital. Black and Latino businesses make up less than 8% of all cannabis businesses in the entire country. Because of challenges like not having a rich uncle or rich hedge fund backers, but instead we are often funded by our families and friends. We are not phantoms or the Easter Bunny. We are real business owners. Do not let ordinance 21053 and your votes as the city council be ignored and overruled by 4 people in a closed door pulling of permits conversation that no one in the public was advised about or that was not disclosed to the public at any time. In the Marines, we learned a term on day 1. It was integrity recruit. It's a shame that we have all not had the same experience that we Marines in the rooms got to learn on day 1 regarding integrity and how to carry ourselves and conduct ourselves in an ethical and honorable manner. I yield my time, and if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.11, Isaac Jimenez.
Good evening, City Council of Jersey City. My name is Isaac Jimenez, he, him. I am a member of Hudson County DSA, and I'm here in coalition, standing behind me with the Portside Towers Tenants Association. Give yourselves a hand, Portside. We're here with activists from across Jersey City to call for the passage of a tenant's right to counsel. Every week, we're knocking on doors, making phone calls, and hearing more and more from tenants as they're being bullied out of their homes. We're hearing about landlords breaking the law and going on with impunity. We're hearing of many long-time Jersey City residents having to leave Jersey City. We're calling for a universal right to counsel for all tenants, because while those most vulnerable are seniors, our poor and working poor residents, our public housing residents, while they have no access to counsel, it's only when we have a right for all tenants that are protected that we can be sure it's a real right to counsel. We're calling for a right to counsel that covers all matters of eviction. But not just that, we're calling for a right to counsel to cover affirmative proceedings and join the several other cities and states across the U.S. that affirm tenants' rights. To enforce rent control, which is not being enforced by the Office of Landlord-Tenant Relations. To enforce the right to heat, to hot water, habitability standards, harassment, to protect tenants from harassment, and enforce protections on tenants when they have restraining orders. Last week, 6 city council members in Los Angeles motioned to pass an ordinance for the right to counsel. Just this morning, a judge in Albany called for the passage of a statewide right to counsel in New York City. We're also calling for this Office of Right to Counsel to exist in the city. As I said, the Office of Tenant-Landlord Relations does not enforce rent control. We need an office in City Hall to actually be a place where tenants can go and get the support they need. And most importantly, we need this office, this right to counsel, to be covered, funded for tenant education, for advocacy, not by taxpayers, by the rich, by the developers pricing out longtime residents. I know we mentioned having trade missions on the council. I think that's great. That we can put a lot of attention into bringing investment into Jersey City. But what about the investment in the community that's already here?
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.12, Cameron Orr.
Hello, my name is Cameron Orr. I'm also a member of the Right to Counsel Coalition. We just, also just speaking on behalf of this legislation to provide stability for working class and low income people in this city, and for all people in this city. Stability is a huge issue. More and more people are getting evicted. I know I've moved 8 times in the past 10 years. And this is because landlords get money from, raising the rent as much as they can. The more they raise the rent, the more people got to move out. The more people move out, the more they can raise the rent. And they accomplish that in all kinds of ways, by harassing people, by intimidating people. And oftentimes tenants feel that they can't assert their rights, even when they have those rights. We need right to counsel so that people can know if they have an issue with their landlord, and then they can fight it. And when their landlord isn't making repairs, when their landlord is harassing them, and when their landlord is not following rent control laws, that they know I'll have a lawyer. I can fight my landlord. We know that when tenants have when the programs where this has been implemented, there's 4 cities and that have implemented a universal program. Rochester had a pilot program, universal program, and we know that landlords bring to basically make less charges against tenants when they know that they're going to have representation. And we know that more than at least 90% of tenants who use right to counsel in places that have universal programs have been working class and low income people. So when we have, that's also why it's important for us to have a universal program, because when people, when we have a means tested program, first off, we waste a lot of money, more than we save, by pushing papers and adding huge layers of bureaucracy that just make the program less accessible, less easy to understand, and less accessible, especially for people who are undocumented or who may not be able to prove their income. Maybe they work in informal sector of the economy, which are usually also low-income people. So it creates all kinds of barriers inevitably when you have means tested programs, and usually also the means testing, the threshold is way too low anyway. So I think it's really important also that we make sure this is a universal program. And I think it's also very important that we fund it with tax on developers who have already been getting huge breaks since the 90s, not paying taxes. It's time they pay their fair share. So I think, once again, it's time to pass right to counsel, make it a universal program, tax the rich, and provide stability for tenants in Jersey City. Thank you. Bye.
Our next speaker, 5.13, Adrian Gayan.
Good evening, council members. My name's Adrian Gainda. I'm here again tonight to stand in solidarity with the tenants of Portside Towers and to also advocate again for the city to pass a strong right to counsel ordinance. We all know that Jersey City is the most expensive city to live in across the United States. Our city has seen massive overdevelopment with luxury apartments that are throwing around the term affordable for $2,000 a month rents for only 1 bedroom. That shouldn't be considered affordable in Jersey City when there are areas like Greenville, Bergen Lafayette, and West Side where that would be considered unaffordable. I live on Grant Avenue near the West Side Avenue light rail station, and there are at least 3 different luxury apartment complexes within 2 blocks of my house. I have friends and neighbors that are scrambling to find new places to live because they can't afford their rents anymore, and because those neighborhoods are suddenly becoming so marketable. As it stands, we don't have a right to counsel or a rent control law that is applicable to all buildings to keep renters in these neighborhoods protected from rising rents and the evictions that would follow suit. The point that I'm making here is that as it stands, the housing market in Jersey City portrays the narrative of a tale of 2 cities. And that is exactly why we need rent control that's applicable for all buildings. We need a strong right to counsel. For a city that is 70% renters, we don't have strong legal protections for such a massive proportion of our population. Not having a strong right to counsel and rent control for all buildings is draining working class families that live in Jersey City. We're already making a vulnerable population that much more vulnerable by not having consistent rent control and a right to counsel. Housing is a human right, and we need to have laws that actually represent that. Again, I urge the council to pass both a strong right to counsel and to enforce 260. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.14, Jaden Hernandez. Is Jaden here? Okay. Next speaker, Jessica Brown. Fran? Fran?
I'm here again. Good evening, Council, Madam President and council members. Here tonight in Kevin's stead. You had an unavoidable conflict given it's a Thursday, not a Wednesday. But importantly, I want to continue to focus all of our attention on the important and urgent need in our city, that of affordable housing and quality of life. Many of us subscribe to this ideal of the so-called American dream. We tell people, work hard, pay attention in school, improve yourselves, and you will be rewarded with a roof over your head, food to eat, safety, and community. I did that. I worked hard. I worked hard all of my life, starting in my mom's small business, throughout high school, college, graduate school, postdoc, and beyond. And even though I've worked hard, I've always scraped by, paycheck to paycheck. You may say that's my fault, that I made the choice to pursue the path of science and research instead of something more lucrative like finance or consulting. Tempting. And you'd be right to a degree. But I don't think you'd be right to say my professional choices should equate to I can't afford to have a home, I can't afford to have a roof over my head. And particularly when there are clear and unambiguous laws governing the rates my landlord can charge for my home, laws that are being violated with willful disregard. I can say with confidence the reason this continues to happen is because the city of Jersey City will not enforce its own laws. And that means people like me are hurting, losing their homes, being cast aside like trash, instead of being embraced as integral contributors to this society. Why you sit there and continue to turn a blind eye to this lack of enforcement, I truly cannot fathom. And it's one thing to tell yourself you simply can't do anything, but you're wrong. You can do several things. First, stand up for what's right for your constituency. Don't accept misdirection or faulty arguments. I know you're all very intelligent and you have to move the curtain of misdirection aside. Second, adopt the clear and standardized form to evaluate rent control status. And I'd like to know where we are in that process. It was only supposed to take 6 weeks and what the next step is. Third, encourage Director Richardson to provide de novo reviews of the 2 new Portside petitions submitted last week, providing either proof of timely filing of exemption or his determination that they are exempt. And fourth, advocate for right to counsel. Last, if you're watching us and following the news, you'll know that we are a growing movement throughout this region. We aren't going anywhere. We will keep showing up. We will continue to shine the light on these injustices and the willful disregard of the laws as they are written. And if you are someone out there with information you think we should know, or you want to join our fight, please follow us at Rent Control JC on Twitter or rentcontroljc@gmail.com. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.16, Tahara. Not going to try to
Good evening. My name is Tahira Hamdani, and my family's been resident of Jersey City for over 2 decades. Right now, my elderly parents are watching my almost 2-year-old, so I can be here as I'm my daughter's sole parent. I'm a single mother. I moved to Portside Towers when I was 8 months pregnant. A few months after I moved, while my baby was just learning to crawl, I started having a persistent and recurring problem of rats and mice that went on for 11 months. During those 11 months, I spent countless hours with building maintenance management with 40+ visits from the external pest control company almost every week until I eventually transferred because there was no solution to that. While there were all these ongoing pest issues, my apartment came up for renewal and Equity Residential still charged me what we all now know to be an illegal 30+% rent increase. I signed only on the premise that the pest issue would be resolved, which it was not. So I withheld rent while trying to get that resolved. Unbeknownst to me, equity lawyers started processing and filed for my eviction. This while building management was actively in communication with me. And I paid the rent within 28 days from when it was due and on time every month after that. I then received eviction notice 4 months later while sick with COVID, along with charges to pay for Equity's lawyers' fees. I contested the charge with Equity, wrote many emails, called, and finally had to resort to legal counsel, at which point, upon receiving correspondence from them, Equity pulled the filing back and reversed the charges. They didn't do it when their resident of 1.5 years, single mom with an infant suffering from pest issues for nearly 1 year, asked them to do so. I mean, when you're dealing with a corporate bully that has been enabled and emboldened over many years, it takes a while to shake it down. And you need tenants and tenant associations, media watching, just legal recourse like I had with Waterfront Project, and most of all, governance that brings them to task. So here we are, all of us, asking you to do just that. No filing, no exemption, enforce 260 and our right to counsel. Please. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.17, Anna Davies.
Davies. I've come up here before. I'm a 8-year resident of Portside Towers, and I'm also a solo parent. I just got laid off from my job. I am busy, so I didn't have time to write a speech. All I'm saying is that we all know that Portside and Equity have been a corporate bully, and I think all of us weren't sure how to deal with it. You know, we would get these 24% increases, 27% increases. And I think all of us were like, how does one person fight this Goliath? And then two, seeing how the city does have laws, no filing, no exemption, that haven't been enforced. And I know that you've listened to all of us. You've listened to all of our unique stories. I know Pastor Richardson has his pro novio documentation to review. And what we're asking is just to continue to listen. And again, we're not going away. There are strength in numbers. And I think finally we are seeing the power of speaking up. And I'm here with my 7-year-old. And it's hard to explain this to her. It's hard to explain, like, okay, you know, you have this giant corporation who's not playing by the rules. You know, we have to pay all this money each month because this company isn't being fair. Why aren't they being fair? I don't know. They've got a lot of lawyers. Why don't we have a lawyer? I don't know, because we don't have enough money to pay for that. So I think, you know, sort of coming through this, coming to the meetings, coming here with her, bottom line, no filing, no exemption, and enforce 260. Thank you.
Next speaker, Lucy Davies.
Hello, my name is Lucy. I am 7 years old and I love living here. My school and my friends are here. This is home. I feel like people have had this situation which they couldn't deal, but I want the rent to hopefully get better. I couldn't, I mean, I feel like people are not making fair prices and they are doing something that is not really making a lot of people in the building so happy. I am asking for fairness and to enforce 260 for all of Jersey City's. I don't want this to spread to more of our city. And I have lived here since as long as I can remember, and I don't think I'm ready to leave. Thank you.
Before I call the next speaker, Lucy, I just want to say you did a great job. Public speaking is not easy, and you're only 7 years old. That's amazing. Amazing. Keep up the good fight. 519, Jessica Raslow. Sorry.
First of all, Lucy, you're freaking amazing and I love you so much. Also, Mabel really wanted her message to be heard, even though she had to go home and go to sleep. So I just want you guys to all know this is what she had to say. Everybody got that on the record? Hello again. I'm Jessica Rasulo, proud mom of 2 wonderful children whom I'm raising to be active members of our amazing Jersey City community. Portside Towers has been our home for 9+ years. I live at 100 Warren Street, where there was no filing of a claim of rent control exemption at least 30 days prior to the issuance of our certificate of occupancy. No filing, no exemption. I won't go into those details again. We all know them by now. We know them because my neighbors and I have been here for the last 7+ council meetings, educating you on the details. We've implored you and all of the elected and appointed officials who have a responsibility to, who have sworn an oath to represent the people of Jersey City, to enforce the law. We have done this without the benefit of counsel. I've missed 6 bedtimes, 6 dinners with my children. That's just for the council meetings. Countless hours have been spent by our community, hours that should have been spent with our loved ones, that should have been spent sleeping, that should have been spent enjoying this great city we choose to and pay to be a part of. But I need to be here. We need to be here to fight for our rights, to fight for the rights of our neighbors, and to fight for the rights of our community members who do not have the privilege of being able to sacrifice their evenings to be here with you. Tonight, we brought our families so you can see and hear how your disregard for the law in favor of large corporations impacts your community. Tonight, I had to send my baby home without me to fight for what is so obviously right. It's clear that legal counsel is important because Jersey City seems hell-bent on supporting well-lawyered large corporations over your constituents, despite your constituents' well-researched, well-documented, correct position. Especially egregious rent increases were the tipping point that brought this community together and forced us to build this unified front without the benefit of counsel. We've been bullied individually for years into living in unsafe, unfair conditions under the threat of legal repercussion from our landlord. This must end. A huge thank you to Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Jessica. Our next speaker, 5.20, Sankita. You can do the last name for me.
Manian.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Sankita Subramanian, and I stand before you today as a concerned citizen who was a resident of Portside for 4 years. Unfortunately, due to a recent increase in rent, I forced myself to move out of the community that I called home. It was a heartbreaking decision, but I could no longer cope with the rising expense. To add to the misery, both sides have filed a false civil lawsuit of non-payment of rent against me. Despite providing evidence to prove my innocence, the management have not responded to my emails for over a month now. As a result, I face the prospect of losing a significant amount of money in legal fees and a ruined credit score. As per the lawsuit, the total fee that I owe as of today is $12,000. Yes, City Council member, you heard it right, it's $12,000. As a single mother, this is a massive burden that I cannot bear, especially when I'm here to use public schooling. Moving out of Portside means uprooting my life and my child's life from a community that we enjoy. I implore you to take my situation into consideration and prevent Portside from further causing hardship for me and my family. As a resident who has contributed positively to the community, I believe I deserve better than to be falsely accused and dragged to the court for a debt I do not owe. In conclusion, I appeal to the City Council to look into the matter and intervene on my behalf. The rent increase and false allegations against tenants must be addressed to prevent similar situations from happening to other residents. No filing, no exemption. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, our next speaker, 5.21.
Arya Ram is my son. He's sick today.
You can't speak for him, though. Sorry. Our next speaker, 5.22, Tom Pomeroy. Not here? Okay, thank you. 5.23, Suzanne D. Felice.
Good evening, Council. Remind you, my name is Suzanne DeFelice, and I am a resident of the Portside East Tower. My rent went up an unconscionable 24.5% last August. Last week, I received 2 mailers in my mailbox, one from Hudson County Executive DeGise and one from Mayor Fulop. Tom DeGise's mailer says, in Hudson County, we've made helping all residents recover from the pandemic a top priority. Whether you need help applying for, and he lists several services, including housing assistance and more, Hudson County is here to help. How have 72% of Jersey City residents been a top priority when you have failed to protect us by not enforcing your own written law, Ordinance 260? Rent is an individual's and a family's biggest expense. As a result of the city's failure to protect us, thousands of lives have been upended and ignored, like the ones we've been hearing about. Mayor Fulop says in his mailer, throughout my 10 years as your mayor, my commitment to you, the residents, has remained unwavering as I work every day of my tenure to improve the quality of life for you and your family by making important investments in public safety, education, health services, transportation, and every other interconnecting aspect affecting your daily lives. He then prides himself on making an effort to remain transparent and continue open lines of communication. Frankly, Mayor Fulop, Mr. DeGise, Council and Director Richardson, I find these statements to be a farce. 72% of Jersey City residents are tenants. To this day, number one, you have lacked transparency and follow through. For example, when will you schedule the open meeting that we've been requesting for weeks? And number two, we have had no response or acknowledgement from Mayor Fulop on the decades-long continued lack of enforcement of Ordinance 260 by his appointees. Council, 2 new petitions were submitted this week for Director Richardson's de novo review. We asked that he, A, provide proof of the timely filing of a claim of exemption that occurred at least 30 days prior to the completion of construction for my building by its original owner. B, proof which satisfies the entirety of Ordinance 260-6C, or your lawful determination that my building has never been exempt from rent control. Where is his answer? We have already provided the information for months now that would provide a lawful determination, and yet we must still demand his answer, an answer to support 70% of city residents. You have had the new standardized form that we provided you for over a month to simplify and shorten the process. When will your vote take place on this new form? Finally, I would just like to invite Mayor Fulop to this meeting and look at us in the eye as we speak to him, because we need him to help us.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.24, Rita Bertel.
Good evening, Madam President and council members. Over a month ago, our team provided the council with a simple standardized form to be used to determine if a building is or was exempt from rent control. It included 5 simple questions that are required by the ordinance. For each yes answer, proof is to be provided for support. The first question, when the building was newly constructed, was it a multiple dwelling, rented or offered for rent? Per NJSA 2A 42-84.1. Was there a claim of exemption filed with the municipal construction official at least 30 days prior to the CO? If yes, provide proof as required by NJSA 2A 42-84.4. If a claim of exemption was filed at least 30 days prior to the CO, did it include the date upon which the exemption period so claimed shall commence? Per New Jersey SA 2A 42-84-4. If a claim of exemption was filed at least 30 days prior to the CO, did it include the number of units such claim covers? Per NJSA 2A 42-84-4. And finally, if a claim of exemption was filed at least 30 days prior to the CO, did it include such information as to be necessary to effectively locate and identify the multiple dwellings for which the exemption is claimed? Per NJSA 2A 42-84-.4. We were told by the council it would take 6 weeks to implement. Where does the council stand on this form? Where are they in the process? Will there be an open meeting to review the form? And can we expect the council to vote on the form? On Monday, 2/13, 2 new petitions were submitted to Pastor Richardson per his request. The petition simply stated, attached, please find my petition claiming illegal rent. Kindly reply with either proof of a timely filing of claim of exemption that occurred at least 30 days prior to the completion of construction by my building or its original owner, as well as proof which satisfies Ordinance 260, or your lawful determination that my building has never been exempt from rent control. We're still waiting to hear on Pastor Richardson's answer. Pastor Richardson, please feel free to use a standardized form if you're not clear on the law and the proof required for exemption. For language you do understand, please refer to James 1:27, calling on you to refuse to let the world corrupt you as you navigate through your role as rent leveling administrator and as a man of God. We're counting on you, sir, to be the moral compass. We're calling on you to do the right thing for which you say you stand for. We've heard in your sermons that you're not a puppet, so we count on you to stand by your words. We've also heard that you're needing more space, and recently adding that you need a bigger ship. We, sir, just need a home and a law that will be followed as outlined by Ordinance 260. If you're unable to follow the law as it is written and enforce rent control and somehow...
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.25, Tara Smythe.
And you'll have to excuse me, my planned
speech just shut down on my laptop, so I'm just going to speak from the top of my head and my heart today. I'd like to thank Councilman Gilmore and Solomon for coming out to 70 Green last month to hear about the various safety and fire issues at 70 Green. Very dangerous living conditions that we're subjected to while paying premium rents that are egregiously jacked up. Never in a million years did I think I would wind up calling Jersey City home. I did not grow up here, but come from a long line on both sides, mom and dad, of people who did. I love it. I'd like to stay. I'd like to be able to afford to do so. Please hold the real estate developers accountable to the contracts that they sign. And please listen to the good folks behind me trying to enforce 260 and apply the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.26, Sonia Krishna.
Good evening, Council. Again, my name is Sonia Kirschner. Thank you for your time again. When I prepared my little speech for today, my husband said, and you're going to hear him in just a minute, you're going to say something touchy-feely again, right? Even though I don't think democracy and following the law is touchy-feely stuff, he knows me well. I'll say something about how it feels to live in Jersey City and at Portside again. Let me start also, I also brought the leaflet of our mayor, because I guess it tells us how we're supposed to feel here. Safe, welcomed for our diversity, included, healthy. We're supposed to feel as if we, the people, mattered. And yes, many things are really great here. Jersey City is welcoming, diverse, and a beautiful city. Still, what is also true is that this has already started to change tremendously. Every single week, we hear new stories of families, you just heard them. Single parents, healthcare workers, expecting mothers, immigrant families, and many more who were or are being forced out of their homes by outrageous and unlawful rent increases. This is reality. It's happening outside of this room, not on a weekly, but probably on a daily basis. It's happening right now. I'm a psychologist, and you all have probably heard about the good old Maslow and the hierarchy of needs. It's really one of the simplest models in the science of psychology. The most basic need at the top, at the bottom of the hierarchy is physiological needs like food, water, shelter, sleep, and so on, followed by safety needs like personal security, employment, health, and a safe home. If a landlord can increase your rent by 40%, if a landlord doesn't have to follow the law, and if the city allows a landlord to put themselves above the law, the most basic needs of people, of 72% renters in Jersey City, are simply not fulfilled. No safety, no belonging. It's a hierarchy of needs. If the basics are not met, forget about the dreams. I once again demand justice for us all. No filing, no exemption. We all know that the East Tower and countless other buildings in Jersey City are subject to rent control by default unless the original owner at the time of new construction filed a valid claim of exemption to rent control in satisfaction with Jersey City Ordinance 260. That has not happened. And still, my neighbors from the East Tower and other buildings are forced to move out. Why are you letting this happen? What are you waiting for? I ask you to use your power to enforce Ordinance 260
Thank
in
you.
a very straightforward,
Thank you.
non-touchy-feely way.
Next speaker, 5.27, Danilo Kirshner.
Hello, my name is Danilo Kirchner. Today I'd like to talk about a letter. A letter used by Equity Residential to obscure the fact that there was never an exemption filing for Portside Towers. People tend to come up with irrelevant and vague facts if they try to get away with something. The letter was sent by Portside Apartments Urban Renewal Partners in 1994, claiming exemption from rent control for 100 Warren Street with 229 units. The law says claim must include address and number of units. 155 Washington is not 100 Warren, and 155 Washington has 297 units. 297 is not 229. You see, we make that really simple today. Now let's come to 100 Warren. Certificate of occupancy for Portside West was filed in 1992. Based on that, the end of rent control exemption was set to 2022 by the city, meaning the Rent Leveling Board acknowledges 1992 as the relevant year. The law says claim for exemption had to happen before occupancy. A letter, how can a letter from 94 be valid for a construction from 92? To the best of my knowledge, 1994 comes after 1992. Also, as of yet, there's no practical proof of time travel, which is the only way a letter from 94 could be delivered in or before 92. This is as if I got caught driving without a license in 92, got my license in 94, and claim any legal charges are not justified because I got my license 2 years later. The law says the claim had to be filed by the Netrise Waterview Associates, the original owner of Portside Towers, not Portside Apartment Urban Renewal Partners, the later owner. Where are we? There are we. How can the current owner file in retrospect for a previous owner? To summarize, an exemption filing which clearly refers to one building cannot be applied to another building and still be valid. An exemption filing that had to happen in 92 cannot happen in 94 and still be valid. Something that had to be done by the owner at time of construction cannot be done by someone else. No filing, no exemption. It's that simple. Don't let that letter confuse you.
Thank you. And next speaker, 5.28, Eric Meyer.
Good evening, council members. My name is Eric Meyer. This group brought to your attention a few weeks ago how the landlord registration statement had been changed. These changes seem to favor the landlord by making the process less transparent. Why would someone do this? What was the motive? Have any of you looked into it? For example, the page containing section C, D, and E was removed. Section C is required when the owner claims an exemption from rent control. Here, the landlord had to fill in the date of amortization of initial mortgage loan. They are only exempt, and I quote, for a period of time not to exceed the period of amortization of initial mortgage loan. Not having this clearly stated in the landlord registration statement makes it so much more difficult for any other parties to find this information, and hence see if a landlord fulfills the actual requirements. Of course, the landlord could choose to hide this information anyway, just like Equity Residential did for Portside Towers. We found out that their loan had a maturity date of September 27, 1992, which would end any exemption on that date. So not only did they never file for an extension in the first place, they also did not fulfill this requirement as well. What more does it take for this administration to figure out that both Portside Tower buildings should always have been under rent control? We all know that the big landlord corporations in Jersey City coordinate their actions and rent setting with the new software, allowing them to increase the rent year over year with double-digit numbers, seemingly ignoring laws and requirements that would rein them in. It's time for the city to enforce Chapter 260 and enact rent control for all eligible tenants in the city. Show us that you stand with your constituents and residents of Jersey City and not with greedy and shady multi-billion-dollar corporations. Same corporations, but that, by the way, fire their reporters just for unionizing. Finally, we support the right to counsel, so everyone will have free legal help to fight landlords who ignore the laws. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.29, Barbara Goldberg.
Evening, City Council. I'm speaking to you as a Jersey City taxpayer, a voter, and also someone who calls Portside Towers home. You all appear to be smart people. I hope you are honest people. So please do the job that you promised voters you would do, and they, on that promise, elected you to do. Enforce the laws of Jersey City. That includes Ordinance 260. No filing, no exemption. I have a quiet voice, so I will say it again. For you smart, honest people, Ordinance 260, no filing, no exemption. Do the job you promised to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.30, Connor Butner.
Thank you very much, Council. My name is Connor Butner. I'd like to share my thoughts on the current appeal in front of the Rent Leveling Board and discuss three important yet related themes: safety, resources, and trust. I became involved in the Portside Towers Tenant Association given my concern over unsafe conditions with the elevators. My wife was in her third trimester when the elevator issues were at their peak and routinely was unable to leave the building safely. There's a new reason why Jersey City's fire department is visiting Portside on a weekly basis: false fire alarms. A minimum of 6 times in 3 weeks, including at 2 a.m., alarms went off erroneously. And in every instance, my wife and I were left to wonder what is safer: rushing down 22 flights of stairs with an infant into the cold, or staying put, hoping it's false. The evolving string of safety concerns and their root cause brings me to my second theme: resources. It's interesting to me that Equity Residential, the largest publicly traded REIT, seems incapable of procuring routine, quality support to maintain basic services like safe egress and fire alarms that function properly. I do not begrudge business owners who are trying to maximize the value of their assets. I think it's unfortunate that one of the ways Equity chooses to do this is by maintaining their properties as cheaply as possible. One of the things that our tenant association is doing is documenting plumbing, electrical, and other safety issues that we believe stem from systemic underinvestment in Portside's maintenance. I'm not just concerned, or I am also concerned for Jersey City, because every time I see fire trucks outside of our building, I find myself marveling at the continued ongoing waste of public resources that are directly under the control of our management company. I certainly hope that monetary costs are the least of our concerns and there isn't something more serious that happens. That brings me to my last point: trust. Our modern society and all of the benefits that come with it, the foundation in being able to trust one another as well as the institution and laws that are meant to protect us. I trust that if there's an emergency and I call for help, that help will come. I trust that if I deposit my money in a registered bank, that that money is safe. I trust that our elected officials will set the laws that make sense to protect the community's concerns. And I certainly would trust that if somebody is found to be breaking the law, that they would be held accountable. Turning our attention back to equity, do you trust them to follow the rules of play? Do you trust them to maintain safe residences for all of your constituents? I think the ongoing issues at Portside, coupled with the burst pipe at 77 Green, should give all of us pause. There's a reason that this case is receiving national attention. It points to the erosion of trust in the systems meant to protect us as consumers. Jersey City passed laws incentivizing the construction of new housing subject to rules. Owners of those properties needed to follow those rules to reap the benefits. They are not following the rules. This cannot be a heads I win, tails you lose situation for developers. What message does it send to other landlords that you can ignore the rules and nothing will happen? Please do your part to make sure that our trust is not misplaced. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.31, Judith Fury.
Jersey City has a major problem brewing. Landlords and developers have total control over this city. We are the next tent city. One example of how landlords gain control is my apartment at 100 Montgomery. There was a huge parking lot for 100 Montgomery. In 2020, the landlord built a high-rise apartment, a parking lot for the high-rise, and a school. We lost most of the parking spots. But how can all of the landlords control Jersey City? How can my landlord raise the rent 8% and mine was higher? It's easy. My landlord gifted part or all of the school that they built to Jersey City. There was something that was gifted. They could do anything. And now today I learned of a trip to France. That person could do anything. In the 2020 mayor overview that I received in the mail, I read about the overlay program and $3 million in grant money. The system is broken and overloaded. We need to help the homeless. We need to put money in the young men living in the shelters with no hope, no dreams, no tomorrow, no vision. They become invisible. They don't need a handout. We must empower them as a group. They need to find their calling, acknowledge their gift. This shelter problem I speak of is the same problem as the illegal rent increase. It's just from a different viewpoint. It is the view from the forgotten who live in the shelter with no hope, no voice. The Jersey City illegal rent increase is creating a new struggle, a demand for more affordable housing, a demand for more shelter beds. Soon it will be a demand for tents. To join the battle against the illegal Jersey City rent increase, Twitter at rentcontroljc, email rentcontroljc@gmail.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.32, Mark Boyles.
Good evening, members of the City Council. My name's Mark Boyles. I'm here to speak to you about an issue that affects me and my wife as seniors living in Portside. As you may recall, late last year, my rent control petition was dismissed by the Rent Leveling Administrator, even though a letter requesting an exemption from rent control was not found. This response was disheartening and frustrating, as it felt like the administrator was using the dog ate my homework excuse. Today, I urge the new rent leveling administrator to take action and document that 155 Washington is rent controlled and has been since the day it was first occupied. This is the correct and the only legal thing to do. Indeed, the tenants of Portside provide a simple checklist form to assist the rent leveling administrator in his duty. As seniors living on a fixed income, my wife and I are counting on the protections provided by rent control. We're not asking for any special treatment or handouts, but simply for our legal rights to be recognized and respected. I implore the administrator to act swiftly to ensure that our rights are protected. Failure to do so would be a disservice, not only to me and my wife, but to all the other seniors and vulnerable individuals who rely on rent control to keep a roof over their heads. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.33, Anand Shah.
Good evening, distinguished members. My name is Anand Shah. I'm a former tenant of the West Tower of Portside Towers, 100 Warren Street. So unlike many of the other neighbors here, I used to be a tenant. And unfortunately, I am no longer one because even though I would have loved to be one, we had lived in that apartment, Portside Towers, for 8 years, and we had made it our home. We loved the community, and we were contributing to it. My 2 daughters grew up there, and they had many wonderful friends in the building. And you've grown up. You told us about how you grew up in the same place and had childhood friends, and so did my kids. And last year, just 3 months before it was determined that they should have been under rent control, Portside Towers increased my rent by $600 a month. That's $7,200 a year. That's an incredible amount of money. I mean, imagine what you can do with that kind of money, right? Good deeds, social deeds, things for yourselves. We could not afford it. We simply could not afford it. They had been increasing our rents year after year, and we were already paying a tremendous amount of money. And so we were forced to uproot our lives, which we had built for over 8 years, and seek residence much further away from Jersey City because Jersey City had simply become unaffordable. The thing is that we tried to negotiate with Equity Residential, and all they did was to just give us a cold reply and say that all they can do is to shave off some $50 of our rent. And this was, again, as I said, months before they were told that they were actually under rent control. So they knew that this could have happened, right? And but they refused to negotiate. All I would like to say is that even though I'm no longer living there, and I wish I could have continued to live there, we live very far away now, and we have to commute. Our lives have been uprooted pretty much. I would like to still be here in solidarity with my former neighbors and with all the tenants of Jersey City, because I don't want this to happen to everyone, what happened to us. It's extremely painful. It's terrible. And we hope that you will stand with us and enforce this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, 5.34, Lola Gale Patrick O'Dean.
Good evening. It's wonderful to see you all in your beautiful diversity. Lovely to be here. What happens to societies that eat their own? I tell you what, they simply perish. This is the 21st year that my husband and I have called Hudson Point our home, which is a sister property to Portside. There is no place like home. I think of peace and comfort, a respite from the rat race of life. That was the unkept promise from Equity Residential. We know that predators prey, and so we enter into a contract with elected officials like you to help ensure our protection. So when a one-time friendly landlord turns predator, where does our help come from when our support systems fail? It cannot go unchallenged to be used to grow the wealth of people who should know better than to abuse the trusted relationship with their customer. Many like me who they relied on at the very start. What other business model do we know that can survive such mistreatment of their customer base? Our rent increase last year was 15%, and I was told it was the lowest because of my tenure. Then, after being grandfathered in for non-payment of amenity fees, Equity saw fit to demand those fees in our 20th year, and then asked me for proof of their promise. I responded that the proof was our non-payment for 20 years, their forced payment anyway. Other residents have been treated far worse than we have been. There's something that should be said about ignoring the plight of your neighbors. I didn't ignore it, but I saw so many people cry, so many people wrestle with the grief and the anguish of having to leave their homes. people dealing with a 20% increase one year, 20% increase the next year. Now it's my turn. As an HR business partner who later went into hospitality, I worked for JP Morgan Chase for 21 years. They could not survive this mistreatment of customers. Hospitality could not survive. Unfettered capitalism and greed is choking all of us. Please let us ensure that equity learns what a value proposition should look like. We beg you to help us. Thank you.
Our next
Thank you
speaker,
so much to Michelle
5.35.
Hirsch. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, 5.35, Shannon Chang. Not here, okay. Next speaker, 5.36, Dina Beloga. She's not here, okay. Next speaker, 5.37, Michelle Herman.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Herman. I'm a resident of Portside Towers East and a working mother of 2 girls under 3. Nearly 2 years ago, my family and I were so excited to move into Portside Towers and even stretched on our rent budget to move in originally. However, like many of my neighbors here, my family was hit with a staggering 32% rent increase last July. The notice came 1 week after I sat in my apartment on the 18th floor, 40 weeks pregnant, needing to get to the hospital with all of the elevators out of service. We desperately tried to negotiate down the exorbitant 32% increase, but management did not budge. Rent control is not an aspirational goal. It is the law for Portside Towers. According to the law, Jersey City Ordinance 260, a building can be exempted from rent control only if the filing happened at least 30 days prior to the completion of construction. My neighbors have spent hundreds of hours providing detailed documentation illustrating how that did not occur. Follow the law, enforce rent control. No filing, no exemption. We need you to enforce the existing law. Enforce rent control. Do it now. My daughter, who was a newborn when we received the 32% rent increase, is now nearly 8 months. How much longer do we need to wait for Jersey City to enforce its own law? How much older does my daughter need to get? We cannot continue to let landlords and management companies take advantage of hardworking families. Mayor Fulop, Director Richardson, City Council members, the lives of thousands of families are in your hands. Put an end to illegal rent increases now. Enforce Ordinance 260. Enforce rent control. No filing, no exemption. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.38, Michelle Hirsch.
Clock yet. I just want to say congratulations, Sean.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure to work with.
Thank
Okay,
you.
you can start the clock now. Good evening.
Thank you.
I pray that Director Richardson is listening. I'm quite perturbed by this 1994 letter that has otherwise intelligent people behaving as if they've been hoodwinked by Dinah Hendon and corporate counsel. Is the city's system of determining which buildings are legally exempt from rent control so rigged in favor of landlords that you're actually rationalizing the use of an improper letter not penned by the original building owner and mailed 2 years too late to reconcile the discomfort I imagine you feel knowing Dinah's determinations are not lawful? When I think of bid rig, pilot payments funded by illegally obtained rents, and of Mayor Fulop's empty promises of tougher enforcement of Chapter 260, my question is neither misplaced nor inappropriate. During the November 28th City Council meeting, I asked, why is Jersey City choosing to not enforce the rent control law when law firms from across the state of New Jersey are shining a light on the same specific issues that Portside Towers tenants raised in their illegal rent petitions. I recounted that one of those law firms, Brock Eiler, issued a real estate alert following the appellate division's Willow Ridge Apartments decision. The alert highlighted that a building owner and a municipality that historically conducted their affairs as if a rent control exemption was in place is not justification to retain an exemption that does not exist. Director Richardson, I strongly recommend reading the Brock Eiler alert and the persuasive July 22nd appellate decision regarding the Willow Ridge Apartments case in Union City. Learn for yourself that Union City's rent leveling administrator and its rent leveling board determined no timely filing, no exemption. And what further drives that point home is that both the Superior and Appellate courts upheld the municipal determinations. I recently learned that Mayor Fulop and all of you are no strangers to the Brock Eiler law firm. In just the last 7 years, you've approved no less than 14 resolutions to spend at least $1,700,000 in professional services agreements with Brock Eiler to protect Mayor Fulop and several other high-ranking city officials from lawsuits. For sure, the law firm to which the city entrusted Mayor Fulop to the tune of $1.7 million taxpayer-funded dollars is one that the director of the landlord-tenant office should also trust. Remember the name, Brock Eiler. Even the legal defender of Mayor Fulop warns that when there is no evidence of a proper lawful filing, there can be no exemption from
Michelle.
rent control.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.39, Maggie Branch. Maggie? Branch? Not here? Okay. Next speaker, 5.40, Tiana Bland. Not here. 5.41 is a duplicate of 5.13. 5.42, Angela Camillo.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Ángela Camilo de Jersey City County de Mayo. Yo estoy aquí porque necesito la comida donde la busco y le pido que por Dios no nos la quiten de ahí porque yo soy una persona mayor y no puedo ir lejos a buscarla. Por favor, uno necesita la comida para la despensa porque la vida está muy cara, las rentas, la luz. Todo está caro, por favor. No nos la lleven de la high school, de la Lincoln High School. Muchas gracias.
Do you want me to, are you going to translate? Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. The lady say is senior citizens, so living in Jersey City for a long time. I'm coming because for the expense of the food for the Lincoln High School. Say no close, please, because the rent is too expensive. The tax, the money is not too much money for paying food. Say no close, please.
You want me to help you out with that?
Okay, Councilman.
I'll go speak to her.
Okay.
Then I'll let you know.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker, 5.43.
Evening, everybody. My name is Mariama Shayewa. You understand my English because I'm a French speaker first. I live in Ward B. And as you know, the food prices and everything else is getting out of control in Jersey City. And food is not something that anybody can decide to live without. So I notice a lot of time program in cities are getting canceled rather than being changed or adapt to help people. Here is a novel idea. How about the city for once do not become part of the problem by closing bites, but rather become part of the solution by reinstating the community garden and keeping the food distribution in Lincoln High. Let's work together to help parents feed their children. Not everybody lives in nice condo with an unlimited food budget. And most of the people that need help cannot speak for themselves, but they are still your constituent, just like the people that are rich. So the council members are supposed to represent and protect the weakest of their constituent. I urge you to do so. If you can spend money on fun parades and all that good stuff, I think you should be able to find the resources to help family feed their children. And we can all work together for a solution to help feed our constituent that needs the most help. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, I believe Michelle Massey left. Yeah. 5.45, Ingrid Bortel. She's not here. Thank you. Next, 5.46, Bianna Menendez. She gonna speak?
Good afternoon. My name is Bianca Mendes. I'm coming for buy food for Lincoln High School. We live in Jersey City for a long time. The rent is too much. The tax is too much now. Because I'm coming, please no close the food on the Lincoln High School. Please.
Thank you. Yep.
Let me just translate what she's concerned because they live in an area and they're concerned about the rent, but there's a pantry that comes out to Lincoln High School every other week. And there's rumors that this pantry is, it's the Bite organization is about to, not serve them anymore. So they're just basically saying that they get supported by this pantry with food, and they're just concerned that it's not going to happen anymore. So I'm going to chat with them in the office. I'm pretty sure I'll keep you abreast of Councilman Gilmore and all the rest of the council people because it's happening in your ward. So I'll let them know so that, we can translate. My aide is going to bring them to the office so that they can gather some structured information so that they can share with all of us.
Thank you, Council. Next speaker, 5.47, Margarita Garcia.
Not here, but
Okay. And next, 5.48, Deborah Alston.
hi, I'm Deborah Alston from the Bite Organization. Our constituents is concerned that Lincoln High School and also asked the community garden, who was doing the food pantry for the last several years. The state of we fighting between Jersey City Board of Education and the SDA, which is supporting the board by the governor. And we want our city council people and also the mayor to give us the support. A letter for the state so we can continue doing good work in our community, especially the board president Natalia Laofi. Let her know that we want that garden and that pantry be open at Lincoln High School. We don't want to go to Lincoln Park because that's not a safe area for our constituent to go over there because that's leading to another gang territory. Lincoln High School is a neutral area. So it's safer to be over at Lincoln High School and to ask the community garden to go over to Lincoln Park, which is another area that our constituents don't want to go to at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deborah, I just want to say, with regards to the garden, of course, I mean, we all support, the food being dispersed to the community. We understand the need for it. The issue is that as a council, I mean, it's the school board, and then it's the municipal council. That we don't have the jurisdiction to, mandate that, they, let you guys use the property, but we do understand the concern. We understand that it's essential. And we are working on things to make sure that you guys have a place to disperse the food.
We just come to you to put it on the record. We also need a letter.
Yes, I mean, we
There, make sure that happens, because I know this is an election year, miracles do happen. Because we can always have the poor among us, but we want to make sure that everybody is getting food. It's like the garden was a place for children and adults to learn about gardening, so people could be self-sufficient on their own, to eat healthy again, not with all this preservative additive. Just like you have your business with your shakes and stuff, going back to natural stuff, definitely go back to natural food, so people don't have to depend on other people.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm sorry, the time is up. Okay. We did have one additional speaker before the meeting started, but I don't believe he's going to speak. He's over in Councilperson Rivera's office. Esteban Brasoba. Yeah, so, okay. That will conclude our public speakers. So we're going to move on to our petitions and communications. Okay, council members, any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.17? Hearing none, there are no officer communications. Any questions or comments on report of directors 8.1 through 8.5? Hearing none, on to our claims and addendum number 1. Okay, council members are going to be taking a vote on meeting claims and addendums number 1. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGeese.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera stepped out. Oh, thank you. Council President Waterman. Claims and addendum number 1 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent. On to our resolutions. Okay, council members, we're going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.14. Again, that's items 10.1 through 10.14. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Briefly for 10.9 with the update to the forestry standards, I want to thank the Shade Tree Committee for the hard work that they put in working with 2 foresters, our former forester and our current forester, our director of sustainability, and other experts in the field to make sure that the city has good standard guidelines to follow. With that, I vote aye for all.
Thank you, Councilperson Saleh.
The vote aye for all, and I commend Councilwoman Mira Prinzary on her work with the updating of the forestry standards that are very much needed. Aye for all.
Thank you, Councilperson Solomon.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGeese. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City resolutions 10.1 through 10.14 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent. Okay, we're moving on to items 10.15 through 10.26, with the exception of 10.16 and 10.25, because they were approved earlier. And I forgot to thank my son's girlfriend who was in the audience, Sam. I apologize. I got to go over next door to see her, so I wanted to make sure I did thank her. Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Anyway, items 10.15 through 10.26, with the exception of 16 and 25, which were approved earlier. Councilperson Ridley.
I have some questions on 1024 at the caucus, because it was the first time that I
saw this and knew that we were going to make changes to Thomas Montgomery Park. So since the caucus, I met with Brian Weller, Architecture, and asked him to add changes to the baseball field. And he has agreed to do that. This resolution does have a time deadline in order for us to be able to apply for this grant, get the funding, but we will be able to expand the vision and add in the baseball field, and we will have community meetings. And the Parks Department is going to meet with the head of College Little League to discuss what's needed on the baseball field, because currently the baseball field isn't in here. So with those updates, I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.15 to 10.26 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent. Before we move on to our last set of resolutions, again, I just want to thank the council members and just to say it's truly an honor to serve as your city clerk. And I hope to continue to do that for many more years. Again, thanks again. So with that being said, the balance of the resolutions, item 10.27 has been withdrawn. Just want to confirm that with the BA's office.
That's correct.
Thank you so much. So we're going to be taking a vote on items 10.28 through 10.34. Again, that's items 10.28 through 10.34. Councilperson Ridley. Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Vote no on 1028. I understand it's a capital charge, so it's not directly in our budget, but I do think we should be looking at ways when if it's not a necessity, so something that we should be pulling back from. And obviously we appreciate the beautification and the historic nature of City Hall, but it's nearly $500,000 for only a small portion of the tiles. So I think it's a little too much given the tax increases and financial difficulties at this time. And with that, I vote aye for everything else.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Are we doing sound effects? All right, so if I can just recap item 10.28. It's approved 7-1 with Councilperson Solomon voting no, and Councilperson Baggiano absent. Items 10.29 through 10.34 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent. And may I have a motion to adjourn at 9:03
Motion.
p.m. So I heard a motion made by Councilperson Saleh, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary. That's the way I heard it. On the motion to adjourn at 9:03 p.m., Councilperson Ridley, Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise. Councilperson Rivera. And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Baggiano absent to adjourn at 9:03 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone present and everyone watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. And thanks again to everyone on the kind words. And I honored to serve as your city council. Have a great night. Stay safe. City clerk, not city council.